Hey guys, welcome to the ARZEON channel, and today I kind of turned hate into something positive. I hate Joy-Cons and their membrane, dome, iron dome, clicky buttons with the heavy tactile feedback and the short traveling distance. So I made something that would benefit a lot of you guys, which is a Nintendo Switch clamp that you don't have to buy from Etsy and wait for shipping, depending on where you live. It has a USB connection as well, so it is detected as a Nintendo Switch Pro connected via USB, as you can see over here. Let me just show it on the camera in front of you over here. You see it's connected via USB, and it will work like any USB connected controller because it doesn't need battery power unless your Switch dies. And you can connect it to your Switch or attach it to your Switch in this fashion, and it stays on really solidly because I kind of screwed it on there, as you can see on the back. And we're going to get into the build later on very soon because I want to show off to you guys how I made it, that you can do it yourself as well with some primitive tools, nothing too fancy. So when I play games, it kind of looks like this. I'm looking at the Switch right on top while I'm having the controller on the bottom. It absolutely is no issue, and we're going to get into some gameplay later on to show you guys that this is a very nice way to grip your Nintendo Switch and have all the weight or the center of mass on top of your hands. So it absolutely is no problem, and it is on there very securely, very securely. The thing that I like about this PS5, it was original PS5 mount for your phone, is that it has very deep a deep grip or clamp with the right reach or range to hold the Nintendo Switch. Whether it is an OLED or not, doesn't matter. This is an OLED Switch and it's more heavy and a little bit bigger than a Nintendo Switch original. So this is as good as it gets. And of course, the plastic is not very hard to cut with some hot, heated up knife. It's kind of rough, as you can see, but this is a prototype. I can just easily buy another one and try again. It's not expensive at all. As you can see, the 8BitDo Pro 2 is charging, and this is an original Pro 2 controller, so you can also kind of program these buttons, which is also very nice. And it feels a lot better than Joy-Cons. And these screw things over here hold it in very tightly, so it will not collapse anytime at all. Really, if you do this, it will not collapse unless you untighten these screws over here. So let's talk about the build. It has some scratches here and there, dings here and there, because I tried a different type of build also. But it starts off with how I disassemble it. I can just unscrew this over here. And these mostly are all simple to find parts around you. But of course you have to get creative a little bit. And down there it has a bolt, or I would say a screw, with a hexagon nut on it. And you will see why. But first let's take a look at the clamp itself, how I modified it. And link to the clamp is in the description down below if you want to see it yourself. Here it has a hole in it that I made using heat and a knife to make a hole, or more like a screwdriver to make a hole, like a plus screwdriver. And then I pushed it through and then used a scissor, actually a trimming scissor, a very strong one, to make this hole bigger and bigger and bigger until it fits around the hexagon nut that I just showed on the back of the controller over here, the hexagon nut. And then we can find different methods to fasten it, like this hexagon nut with a piece of plastic around it that I kind of mended together somehow. It's kind of a MacGyver kind of job. As you know, this is a rough DIY job. And it has a contraption over here that goes over the bottom part, as you can see on the picture, because the PlayStation 5 secures in that way, but you can just snap this off the top part and then cut the bottom part as such as you see in front of you to kind of make it fit nicely around the Switch or the 8BitDo Pro controller. And then you have this on the bottom kind of holding it in place, not to shift around, but it will never go anywhere with this bolt because this bolt is very nice. But it would be extra reinforcement because the bolt is inside the battery cover. And I'll show you the battery cover now, how I modified it. And the rest is kind of, the same pretty much, except for the holes for the charging ports of the Nintendo Switch, depending on what orientation you use it in. you can just plug in your USB Type-C to Type-C cable, which comes with the clamp, by the way, so you don't need to buy it separately. And this bolt over here, I kind of make it safe, because it's very safe anyways, because the 8BitDo battery has a cover, and I do not suggest that you puncture this at all. It will never reach it anyways, but this is because I was doing some DIY work. It kind of scratched it. Very separate issue than what I did in this DIY project. So you can see that it's kind of flush. If we hold it like this, it is kind of recessed inside the cover, and secured with a hexagon bolt on the other side. And this is done with heat to make it bulge to the inside a little bit. These screws are kind of like this, very flat, as you can see, with some sloping till the threads, and it will fit inside of it when you press it down with the heat and become flush in the end. And then you can just slide it on like this without any force, and keep this switch on switch mode, because you can also put your phone in there if you wanted to, but we're talking about Nintendo Switch right now. That is the special part. Phones are just, you know, very easy to clamp onto this with a proprietary clamp that they sell on 8BitDo, which goes into here. As you can see, we have these, you know, indentations over here for the phone clamp, but I'm not using a phone, so a Nintendo Switch would be nice, but they don't offer you Nintendo Switch clamps to use in portable mode. I can screw it back on like this, and as you can see, it's very easy to secure back on, and it will not go anywhere. I guarantee you it will not go anywhere. I'm going to do the other orientation for you guys, and then you can secure it in place as such. You know, it will not go anywhere as well, but it will be top heavy. Once you put it down, it will tip over like this, you know, and that doesn't happen if you have it in the other orientation that I just showed off, which is my favorite orientation, because I have the buttons and all memorized, so you don't really need it to have it like that to see the controls. So it's kind of useless, and the center of mass will be on top of the controller, which is much better in my opinion. Oh, that screw went a little bit too far. But it is secured on there very, very securely. We can see that over here. You see these serrations like this? These will secure on these serrations and not make it go anywhere. It kind of clips on like this, and then make this kind of noise that it scratches, you know, over the serrations, over the other serrations. And then we can just secure it in place very tightly, and it will not go anywhere at all. Just be sure that that is the case. Of course, if you did a bad DIY job, I cannot guarantee anything, but in my case, how I did it, this went very well. Now let's talk about securing the Nintendo Switch inside this position over here. You kind of put the cable in here, and it snaps into place, and then the bottom part will go in here, so keep it like this, kind of wrapped around the bottom. Then we put it in here like this. It's very easy, and the charging port will be aligned with the cavity that we have made via our DIY skills. Let me just put in the charging port and align it like this, and now it is in there. Just make sure that it is in there snugly. And now turn on the switch, and it starts. You have to press the button 3 times and make sure that's in USB mode. As you can see over here, it is in USB mode. So I'm going to play some Mario Odyssey to show you that the freedom of movement is just as you would expect on an 8BitDo Pro controller, as long as you have the controls kind of memorized. So the thing is about this, that it needs some very minimal DIY skills to be able to make this out of a PS5 clamp or phone holder, which is the one that I linked in the description down below. So don't buy any other one. Be sure that you have that one, because it will be able to hold a Nintendo Switch. The other ones don't. So they have either a very small clamp, or, you know, the grip is not that great. But this one has great grip, and as you have seen earlier, it's a very good experience when you shake the Nintendo Switch around and just do your average thing, you know. When you go on and about, it absolutely will never fall out of the secure spot that it is in. And yeah, I thought this DIY project is nice to share with you guys because mostly I don't share my DIY projects. I kind of keep them for myself. But I want to change that and kind of share it with you all. So the thing is, as well, as anyone would expect, you need some tools for this. And the first tool you're gonna need while I'm standing here is a X-Acto knife, but kind of get the iron ones. Don't get the plastic one. I'm just showing this off for showing purposes. I used an iron one, so try to use an iron one. And you need some screws with these types of heads, as you know, as I told you earlier. Also a flathead plier with a sharp part as well, because you need to snip off some plastic parts, as I have mentioned earlier. And a screwdriver with a small tip. It either might be a +1 or a -1. It's used to wedge out some parts or wedge out some iron parts out of the clamp. And also that's and some fire. You're gonna need some fire. So a torch would be nice. A lighter, just a simple lighter would do the job as well. No need for a fancy torch. So that's all we're gonna need. I hope you guys found this video helpful and enjoyable to watch at the very least, and want to do it yourself. Don't worry, it's not gonna damage your Switch, and it will have some minimal damage to the 8BitDo Pro 2, but if you do it right, it will look very nice, because you can just get that bolt out there or the screw out of there, and then it will look very nice again, because the 8BitDo has a plastic covered battery pack anyways, so it's not really a lot of damage, and this is really worth it to me because I don't like Joy-Cons and I'm not gonna use them again after this. I'm just gonna use this one. Not on my watch. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. I love you all. Stay nice and stay crafty. So I'll see you guys in the next video.